So good evening and welcome to the Down the Lane podcast, where tonight I am joined by Bobbie. Good evening, Bobbie.
Good evening.
I'm joined by Miles.
Good evening, all.
And we also have our club owner, Simon Leslie, hot in from Madrid. Good evening, Simon.
Hello, boys.
You having a good little trip out there?
I'm exhausted. I've walked around talking all day long. There's one thing that's missing. Eastbourne are not here promoting themselves in the biggest tourist fair in Europe, but never mind. I'll do our bit for them.
Okay, so we're going to start off talking about the Farnborough game at the weekend. Obviously, probably a good time to play them at the moment, with them having a bit of internal transfer issues, should we say, player issues, and also with us getting a few new boys through the door. So, Bobbie, what's your thoughts on Saturday?
It's crunch time pretty much now between us and the end of April. I mean, Farnborough 20th in the league, 4 points above us. And as you said, Barry, they are not in a great position at all. They've lost a goalkeeper due to some sort of weird transfer going on. The goalkeeper they brought in has apparently broken his arm. They're clearing players off the book. They're getting players out of their team to clear their books. And obviously one of them being Lachlan Bird, signed with us last Friday. But I think they'll be looking at us the other round thinking, oh, hello, we might be able to get something out of this. And we're looking as well saying, we definitely need to win this. We're back in it. We'll be back within a point of them. They lost to Chesham last week 1-0. Obviously, we lost at Hornchurch 2-0. Obviously, if we won, we would have been a point behind them. And providing we win on Saturday, we could have been out of the relegation zone. But I think looking at it from our perspective, it's one that we need to capitalise on. This is a good chance to really kick our season on. Obviously, as I said, we're back within a point of them. We get a nice little win going. We've got Dagenham next Tuesday and Enfield next Saturday. There's a good potential here for a good couple of points to pick up. And we've seen the teams like Dagenham, from where they were at the start of the season, they were below us. They've picked up a few wins on the road, and now they're sort of mid-table. So, yeah, I think definitely Saturday, I'm looking forward to it. I think people as well are looking forward to it because it's a good chance to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I think we said in the podcast last week that, when we was talking about where we're going to get our points from, we was talking about February being a very difficult month. But I see, we've got a couple of home games there, Farnborough and Enfield, that, let's be fair, we've got some new players through the door now, good players, and experienced players, which is basically what we've been crying out for. And they're through the door now. So Tommy's going to have had a week with them. We know what Tommy can do in a week after the turnaround from Torquay to Hampton. And with players being experienced players as well, I don't think that Tommy will have to teach them as much. He'll have to get them working in his way, but they've worked with him before, so it's quite an easy fit, I think, for them players coming in. So, yeah, the hope is that obviously we get that tune out of them at the weekend. Miles, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's absolutely a massive game, isn't it? Doesn't really get much bigger than this in terms of a relegation clash. Especially being at home as well, we've got to turn our home form around. Like only having one win this season so far at home in the league is just not at the standard you need it to be. Whether you're going for the title or fighting relegation, you've got to rely on our home form. So yeah, it's a massive opportunity in the next few games to really pick up some points. So I remember under Adam, we had a similar run of games. We had Hemel, Dover and then Taunton in the space of sort of 8 days, and managed to pick up 7 points there. So if we can sort of target that, or worst case scenario, hopefully 5 at least, then we'll be looking up the table. I think it's really important the boys get some momentum behind them now. Like, we haven't won 2 games on the bounce all year, and as we said, Farnborough are in a worse position than us currently. I'd say definitely like off the pitch currently and on the pitch. It's a great time to play them. They haven't won away from home as well since about September time. So things couldn't really fall better into place for us, I think, especially the new additions that came through the door last week. So yeah, I'm sort of excited for it, but kind of a bit nervous as well, because when you expect something out of a game, you sort of get a bit of anticipation, I guess, and it's a massive chance for us to get 3 points on the board.
Yeah, and I think I feel the same. Obviously, we had a lot of anticipation going into Saturday. I know we said, before that, we'd said that Hornchurch was a bit of a penalty kick. But I think with the players coming through the door on Friday, and we were saying that, we've got such a solid looking defence now, that we probably got overexcited and went to Hornchurch thinking that we were going to turn them over. But I mean, I think, for the last hour of the game, definitely the second half, we were not the worst. We were not the worst side. We could quite easily have got something out of that. So again, a couple of silly little mistakes that were made early doors. But I don't. Players are playing together for the first time. They'd only walked in the door Thursday or Friday or whenever it was they came through the door. And just to give them a week to learn who they're playing with, to learn their little traits and stuff like that, I personally think it'd be massive. I think we're going to come onto the predictions obviously before we move on to other stuff, but I will definitely be predicting a Borough win this weekend. I think Tommy can do the work with the boys and Hugo, and the team there can do the work with the boys, and then we hopefully the 3 points. Simon, your thoughts ahead of Farnborough on Saturday?
I don't know how many people have told me this is a must-win game. We've got to win this game. We can't not win this game. Listen, it's 3 points for every single one of the 19 games we've got left, and we've got to win as many as we can. What we've got to do is take the pressure off the guys, everybody, and let them play. Because when they played, like they did against Hampton, they were unbelievable. They were unplayable. And then, 4 or 5 games later, they're playing Horsham, and they completely can't play, let alone unplayable. We've got to find a way to just let them just play like 8-year-olds and enjoy the game and do what they're really good at. I'm with you. 60 minutes on Saturday, I thought. For 60 minutes, it was one-way traffic. They hit us a couple of times on the counter, but we were peppering their goal. I mean, the highlights, I don't think, reflected how dominant we were. One of those had gone in. I mean, even the goal that George scored, I must have looked at it 5 or 6 times. There was definitely a player just further behind him. That goes in. I think we would have definitely got a draw, because they were holding on. They're not a young team. They're an old, experienced team. They're old heads. They were putting their bodies on the line. When they brought Dave Winfield on, who must be about 80 now, and he's quite scary looking. I mean, he fills half the goal. It's very hard to get past some of these, big, stocky, what were once part-time footballers.
I totally agree, and I think that I rate their centre back as one of the best in the league. He when you're trying to go past that, and he just commands that defence. And I think for the fact that we did break through them, all right, it was disallowed for offside, and for the amount of chances we had. One of their fans at the end of the game said that they thought their keeper was their man of the match. Now, I mean, their keeper is not going to be man of the match if we haven't given them a bit of a game. So, like I say, I think, if we can play like that against Farnborough.
Exactly. There were such small margins, right? Maxwell was through. Had that fallen to George, I think that would have been a goal. He just looked a little bit, didn't have the same striker confidence to go around the keeper and just pop it in. So I just think it's just, even when you look at the goals we scored, Phipps, he sliced that ball, Most weeks he pops it out straight to the halfway line. That time he sliced it and it falls straight to one of their players. It should have been marked. But like you said, the guys came in on Friday, not Thursday, came in on Friday. I doubt they even knew their names, right? They didn't. Friday is never a proper training session. It's always just a positional, session. And, for them all to come in, and I thought, See, I don't even know the names. I thought Will Armitage was unbelievable. I thought, for a young lad, he was so composed. I don't think he lost a header, and he was up against some big old strikers. And when he had the ball and he came through, he was just graceful. It was brilliant.
And they are a very good side. I mean, I back in June, July time, messages between different supporters. There was definitely messages between me and a few others saying Hornchurch are going to be a danger this year because they got their business done early. They signed big players, big, not only big names but big stocky players as well. And that it's obviously worked for them, and they are where they are. But like I say, we weren't that bad. I didn't think.
Just pause that for a second, right? A lot of the good players they signed, they've got rid of as well.
Yeah.
Right? So they might have done it early, didn't mean they get it right. And I think that's the thing about this league. It's such a fluid league. Some of the teams, like Farnborough, signed a hell of a lot of players earlier. Look at them. They're all over the place. They're at sea. It's much more complicated this year because there are a lot more full-time teams. Anyone that's half decent, everybody is bidding for. There isn't a player, I promise you, that we didn't bid for. There isn't a manager I didn't go for that went somewhere else, right? So it's not that we're not trying to do business. It's just sometimes it's your location, sometimes it's money, sometimes the manager knows them and they get on really well. Now these are all the things that we're going to talk about tonight, which is, for you to understand as fans, you just think, well, get another striker, it will be fine, or get another defender and life is great. Oh, we haven't got a midfielder, let's get some more midfielders in. You can get the best squad, you can amass the best squad, and it still doesn't mean they're going to gel together on paper. We've got to get a team. It took us about, I think it was not until about October, November time last year that we really had a team where we all felt, wow, this team could win the league. But that wasn't the same team that started the league either. We did do some business early. And again, we got rid of 4 or 5 or 6 of the players and replaced them with better players as the season went on. And then if you look at someone like Maidstone, who do their business now right the way through to April, and they strengthen and strengthen and strengthen, and they finish strongly. So there'll be a couple of teams that'll come out in the pack this year and finish strongly. And then, you have teams who've been up there all year long that'll get knocked out the first round of the playoffs.
So we always now go on to prediction time. We're not very good, Simon, so don't worry if you predict a wrong score, because I don't think we've actually predicted one right yet. So we'll go on to Farnborough Saturday. Bobbie, I'm going to start with you. How are we going to get on against Farnborough?
This might be the only week that I've actually predicted us to win. So I'm saying we are going to win. But looking at their squad, they're very low. They're probably going to get a goalkeeper in, emergency loan somewhere. They'll probably sign some few players, but yet again, they've got a lot of fallout between their fans and their board and their management. So I think obviously off the pitch they're a mess. On the pitch they still look like a mess. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Borough, Eastbourne Borough, not Farnborough.
Okay, and Miles, we'll move on to you.
I feel like we'll win. I think it will be an entertaining game, so I'm going for a 4-2 Borough.
4-2, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna plump for 3-0. I think a week with if Will can play like Simon said earlier, if Will can play like he played on Saturday, Lachlan. And we can get that right at the back. I think we've got a very sick defence, and to be fair with Woody, Woody in goal, I think he's amazing. I think he's an amazing football player and goalkeeper. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-0. Simon, over to you.
I think I'm with Bobbie actually. 3-1.
Okay.
We always beat Farnborough as well, so hopefully we can keep that up. I say Farnborough at home. We never win away, but Farnborough at home, we always do well.
Kevin said something. He said they're in quicksand and we look like we're really picking up momentum. So let's hope that comes to the fore. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. Right? We'll have another game and we'll go again. if you've watched us over the last couple of weeks, I think this team is getting stronger, better. It'll get better as they gel together. They start to know and trust each other, and I think we're only going to get better as we get to the difficult games at the end.
And if you're right with your prediction, Simon, I don't want you refusing to come back on saying you're on 100%, so you're not coming back on. So, yeah. So, Simon, we're going to move over now into asking you a few questions about yourself and about, obviously, the journey that you've been on. You always dreamed of owning a football club. Almost 3 years in, has it lived up to your expectations?
I was asked this on the podcast the other day, and I said it's a nightmare now. So the dream's over and the nightmares have begun. Do you know what? Am I still excited? I am really excited, and despite what a lot of people think, I think we've achieved a hell of a lot in the last 20 odd months, 30 odd months. It's gone so quickly, and obviously, there isn't one person within the club who sits at home going, "God, this is great, isn't it? Can you believe how lucky we are to get beat every week and be this rubbish?" So it's when we lose, after Saturday, I feel demoralised pretty much until about Thursday. Could do with the Tuesday game to try and shake it out the system, but it really is. It does take it out of me now, because I can see how close we're getting to being so much better than we actually are.
A lot of fans seem to feel sort of an apathy towards and disconnected or disengaged from the club. I think we've heard that from particularly the forum and also a few rumblings in person as well. How would you address that issue, and how can we become more engaged? Because I feel like we were sort of on the right track up until last season. I think probably results have a big impact on this as well. But how do you feel towards the engagement of the sort of the fan base currently?
And it's a two-way street. None of us can get on the pitch and play and make a difference to the team. We can talk to them, we can encourage them, we can support them. The same with the supporters. Just because somebody writes on a forum, "This is an amazing community club and we are doing everything for the community," doesn't mean it's true. Just because a fan says Simon wasn't at the game on Saturday when I was, doesn't mean it's true. And it's quite dangerous, because people are writing stuff which is patently not true. And I think that's the problem. And then you get 15 or 16, and it's not that many. If you want to have a coup in a country, you need about 5% of the country to revolt, and then a coup happens. We've got about 15 people. Some of them are Borough fans. A few of them are. Some of them are ex-bowlers who are still disgruntled with me for shutting down the bowls, and we can talk about that if you want to. Some of them are Eastbourne Town fans, and they openly admit that they go to Eastbourne Town. There's probably some Eastbourne United fans there as well. So it's not a fair representation of the fan base, because I walk around every game and I talk to everybody, and people say so many nice things to me and show gratitude and appreciation and are very glad for the things that we're doing. And I think that if you take a snapshot, which is a forum which is full of some rather toxic and unsavoury characters, of course everyone's going to start believing, if you start believing the hype and you start believing everything that's typed, then it sounds like this is a dreadful club, no one likes anyone, no one talks to anyone, and that really is not the case. This is a friendly club. We're actually doing so much more in the community than we've ever done, than they ever did before I took over. And if you want me, I can list the charities we work with, the schools we work with, the stuff that we do every week for all the teams and the free coaching we give away. No one sees that. No one puts that on the forum. They tell me all the things that we're not doing, but they don't put all the things that we are doing on there. And I think if you want to have a fair conversation when we all say, "Well, you're not doing this very well," and I go, "Okay, we can do that better. But here are all the things that I think we are doing really well." And we're being compared to Horsham and Worthing, and all the facilities at Worthing are so much better. They really are not. They've only got one food outlet. They put a nice big stand in there, which is not even a stand, it's a standing stand, it's not a seating stand. And yes, they are getting 3,500 people turn up on a Saturday. If we only get 700 people turning up, they're charging the same. I think they might even be charging more than we are. That gives them a superior advantage to get better players, to get the managers they want, to offer bonuses that we can't necessarily offer. So if people don't show up, this is the thing that we really got to get across. If we don't get 1,000 to 2,500 people showing up, we are losing probably about £25,000 a game, maybe more. And that's the thing no one puts in the forum. They want to tell me how bad everything is, but they're not saying, okay, but we're losing £20,000 to £30,000 a game.
I think we've seen though from like when we had the success of last year, like we've definitely got appetite for bigger crowds, haven't we? Like we had West-super-Mare, Maidstone, and Worthing. I think we're all over 2.5. I know the Maidstone and Worthing sold out.
Yeah,
and West-super-Mare was definitely up there, wasn't it? So I feel like if we get the team right on the pitch, people will come to the ground.
I think so. I think there is a summer thing as well. I think people are fair weather in lots of different ways. And you know, I went to Spurs last night, and I'm not a Spurs fan, but I took a client to Spurs, and Dortmund were losing 2-0, down to 10 men, and I took a video I think it was about the 70th minute. The rain was gushing down, and their fans were singing, waving their flag, waving the scarves, for 105 minutes for the whole game. Did not stop. We get to 60 minutes, people are booing, people are walking out, people have had enough. You know, it's a difference. You know, there's a difference between a fan, a supporter, and maybe a bystander, right? And at the minute we haven't got enough fans, and we've got to do a better job of bringing more fans in. And I've scratched my head. You know, we have video screens all over the town, in the gyms, in the shopping centres, where we promote the club. We've probably got the strongest social media in the league. All the things that we're trying to do to try and attract it, we're leafleting and texting to everyone in the community, reminding them there's a game every Saturday, and all these things. You know, we still got to find a way to bring more people out, and that's a case of. But if everybody reads the comments on the forum, they think, God, this is a horrible place. Why would I want to give up my Saturday? Why would I spend £15-17 to go and do that? £20, whatever it is. And I think that it's all our responsibility. If we want to see a winning team, if we want to go back to what we had last season, then every single one of us has got pointless, you know, look in the mirror and go, hang on, what can we all do better as well? Because it's not just the club. The club can't change that, how you feel. Right? If you only feel good when you win, then I'm doing my best to make you feel good. But you've also got to feel good about the team, about the what we're building here as a squad. And I mean, do you want to ask me something else? Because I was just about to lead in about players, because there's a lot of criticism that we didn't sign the right people, we're not very good at recruiting. And then on the same hand, you go, and you're selling all our best players. So we're either not good at recruiting, or we are good at recruiting, but we're also good at selling. So they're not mutually exclusive. I think we've been really good at recruiting. I've also think that we've recruited players who are better than this standard. And when you get people who are better than this standard, they ain't going to stay at the standard for very long. They want to go up. That's been the hardest thing as a transition from business to football. In business, people have been with me 15, 20 years. Don't leave. In football, they come in and they cannot wait to get somewhere better and higher. And I think that's really hard for me to process sometimes, because I'm thinking, we've only just started together. Come on, let's give it a few more seasons. Now my career is really short. I need to get going. And that's the thing. I don't think the fans quite understand. You know, if you were to stand there and say to Braden Johnson, listen, Braden, I know Middlesbrough want you, but you're better off coming in next year and playing Slough again and Farnborough, you know, as opposed to going and playing where you're going to play. Now, has he kicked on? No, not really, and you'd probably be better off staying and playing here. And we can talk about Fletch as well. But it's very hard to stand in players' way when they've got better opportunities being presented to them by their agents all the time.
And I agree with that, because obviously, as a short, in terms of a player's career, it's short. So you can look at some players that we've had. You've just mentioned Fletcher and Braden. You can go to Joe Wright and Ollie Kensdale, who obviously moved off to Barnet, got League Two money. Because it is a short career, and they're now playing back in our level. But obviously, Ollie's one above, but Joe's back in our league now. But he's still on the Barnet contract, so he's on the more money. So I do understand that. Just one thing I've got to quite interject there is, you said you went to Spurs last night. I need to ask a question that I don't think anybody can answer, and that is, how are Spurs fifth in the Champions League standings, right? And how Spursy would it be for them to actually win the Champions League and get relegated in the same season? That is proper Spursy. So sorry to all the Spurs fans that I've just.
I've got to say, I have never been in a place where fans. Oh my God, they make our fans seem like angels. This guy sat behind me for 80 minutes moaning about every pass Xavi Simons did, Danso did. Like, oh my God, that's a rubbish pass. Oh man. And I'm like, God, you're going to get I did get a headache just listening to him moan about it. They are so critical of everything, the Spurs fans. And then, you've got the Dortmund fans, and Dortmund were rubbish last night, and their fans don't care. They absolutely just come for the experience and create that energy.
And I like to think there's a number of us at Borough that we do try and keep the noise going. We do try and keep it, win, lose or draw. We try, but it is difficult sometimes. It is, there's no getting away from that. Bobby, you were going to ask something. What was you going to?
Yeah. So Simon, you've been obviously with us for 3 years now. It's obviously an expensive business, football. Obviously, you're not afraid of spending money. Obviously, looking at what you're redeveloping, obviously turning us into a sports complex. Obviously, we've got the paddle coming in. But looking at it from a football side of things, how much can we afford to spend trying to get success, and at what point do we stop funding?
I don't know the answer to that question in a minute. I've got lots of. I am in the midst of quite a significant fundraise. I'm quite close. Talking to some really exciting parties who want to get involved, who like what we're doing, in the States, in the Middle East, and in Asia. So I'm hoping we'll attract even bigger, deeper pockets than mine. And mine are not very deep and not very big anymore. Some of the snide comments about the paddle really confuse me. So let me just clear some of that up. The paddle's coming in. Somebody said, is he a striker? We had a bowls hall which had 250 odd members, of which, as I said, some of them are disgruntled that we closed it down. Most of them were over 60. They were contributing nothing. That bowls hall was losing us money every single month. We replace it now with 3 paddle courts, which should contribute £20,000 to £30,000 a month, which is a significant difference. Where's that money going? Everything we're doing at the club, both the wellness and the paddle, is to reinforce and give us more funds to reinvest into the football club. The equipment that we're bringing into the wellness suite will be available free to the football club. So they'll have free cryotherapy, they'll have free hyperbaric chambers, free oxygen therapy. In theory, they should be fitter, faster, quicker, recover better, recover from injuries better. No other team, like you can go to Man City, they have only got a few of the machines that we're bringing in. And you're also then giving facilities to the community to be able for them to recover, look at longevity, look at anything that will make them live longer, feel better, deal with some of the horrible diseases as well. So everything I am trying to do, and I don't like using that word trying because I am doing, everything we're doing is to make sure that the football club is self-sustaining, that we have got enough money to keep bringing in more and more players. And I just want to debunk another myth, which is that, we're not backing the managers or we're doing the recruitment. I have to say, of all the best players we found, they didn't come from the manager. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Adam didn't do very much recruiting. The only two players Adam brought in, I think, were Birdie and Sia. Everybody else, we had to help him, and we had to, we created a whole new network of agents. Matt wasn't interested in any of them. We back Matt, and you back your manager until you can't back him anymore. We gave him the ammunition. Did he find... The thing that we struggled with Matt was he hired players who didn't fit into the system he wanted to play. It wasn't that they were bad players, but he was trying to play them in a way that they couldn't deliver their best for the club, as some of them who've gone on and playing elsewhere and doing really well. So on paper they looked all right, but when that whatever he did and however he talked to them and however he expected them to do things, they just couldn't deliver. And it's the same with Tommy. For the last 3 weeks, I've nagged Tommy probably every day. He's probably sick of my voice. Like, where's the options? What we got? And it probably took him 3 weeks of, he goes to watch sometimes games, 2 or 3 games in a day. He's constantly looking for players. But the key thing with him and Matt was they only wanted to bring in their own players. And that's why you're getting a lot of players that he's played with before, that he knows, he trusts, he knows what they can do. And that's what we're doing. We're backing our manager. And in Matt's case, we backed him until we couldn't back him anymore. Because I took Matt out for dinner one night. I think we went to watch Bourne Wood play just before we were playing them. And I said, look, you've got to do something different. I said, you've got the wrong players in the wrong holes and you're expecting them to do things they can't do. Well, that's the way I like to play. And I said, but, for the love of God, just move them around a bit. Try the pieces in different places and see if it can work. And he was so stubborn and, that's the way I play. That's the way I want to play. And that's what we're going to do. And I said, well, that's why I got to the point where I said, it wasn't that I didn't think we were ever going to get out of it. I just didn't think he was prepared to change enough. And that's the decision you got to make. Then you've got to say, right, it's time for somebody else. And I talked to a lot of managers before I talked to Tommy, and we got a lot of feedback. Some of them said the squad are really good. Some of them said the squad's not very good. Some of them said, you need to spend this much money. Some said a lot of other money. Tommy came in and he said, look, there's a bones there. I need to bring in some players and I will find the right players to fit in the right holes. And I think that's what he's doing. He's playing people in slightly different positions than we expect them to do. And actually, someone like Tate is playing unbelievably in defence. I think he didn't look as good in midfield as he had been looking in defence. So, but if you think about it, Easty, I mean, come on, the man's the beast. He's probably been our best player this season. Can he play Saturday, Tuesday? Of course he can't. But when he plays, we are a better team. And I think Tate's been a fantastic signing for us as well. And I think now you've added Kai, Maxwell, Will, Lockie, and Woody. I think you're starting to feel good. For the first time on Saturday, he could turn around and look at a bench and go, actually, I've got 3 or 4 players on there who've got enough experience to come on. They're not just, it's a bit like Spurs last night. I mean, Spurs had 3 17-year-olds on the bench and they gave a kid his debut in a Champions League game. It's not, nothing that's happening to us is not unique to us. The whole football world is full of injuries, full of challenges, and full of trying to get the right players in and managers.
Fair enough.
A detailed explanation.
Yeah, I mean, my next question is one that I think, obviously, looking where we are in the league, we're 23rd. At some point, obviously, people obviously look at the forum. People say we're going to get relegated. Some say we're not. It's a bit of a divide at the moment. I just kind of want to know what if the inevitable did happen, Simon, what would be your plan if we went down? I know it's quite a hard question, but
no, well, we've been there before, right? We had this conversation with Adam. I think it was about this sort of time, and Adam said, "Look, as long as we're there or thereabouts, I think we'll get out of this." and we kept adding, and we really struggled with a striker. Our Gold come in as well. I mean, he looks like a handful, and exactly what we've been missing. Forgot about him. I haven't lost one blink of sleep over it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're too good as a team. I think we've got enough depth in this squad, and I think there's loads of teams around us who haven't got that. You see what happens towards the end of the season. The part-time teams start. People have job commitments. They have other stuff that takes over from football. They get a few injuries. They get a few niggles. They don't always turn up. And they've got harder, whereas we are training, getting fitter, getting stronger every single week. I tell you how I felt last time, and this is what piece I came to. I said, look, if we go down, we've got lots of local derbies. We'll probably have bigger crowds. We'll probably have less money to spend on coaches going to all these godforsaken places. And I think we'd bring in a whole new set of fans. I don't think it will happen. I'm not planning for it to happen. We'll sit down, Tommy and I, in 10 games' time, I guess, and say, what do you think? I'm hoping in 10 games' time we've got somewhere between 20 and 30 more points than we have right now, and that's not the thing we're worried about. It's like, what we're doing for next season, what we're going to do, who we're going to add, what strength can we add. And a lot of the players that we're signing now are on long-term contracts, so they're going to be here for next season. So I think we're in a better place. When Adam said last year, I think it was, he said, if we don't win it, we'll win it by Christmas. I know they keep saying they attribute that to Alan, but it was actually Adam who said that.
I think it was Simon. It was Alan on the one of the talkback sessions. I can't remember when it was. I think it was Bath away, February. That was Alan before. Was it Alan? Was it Alan, you and all together? I can't remember. It was there. Alan said it. I mean, that's why people were disgruntled by that, essentially.
It was actually Adam's. That was his prediction. Now,
right.
A lot of the players had already said to us, if we get promoted, we are staying here. Even the ones that have gone on to League Two, would have stayed. We would have had a lot of momentum going into that. None of them wanted to sign new contracts until they knew if we're going to get promoted or not. So, you do get held ransom by players, and that's just the level, and that's what it is. And most of the teams start with a fresh set. Even I was thinking about Worthing. I don't think a lot of those players that they're playing this year were there last year. Even though they've got a philosophy that's been there for a while, I think actually there's a lot of new players that have come in, and they sold a few of their better players. So I don't think we have anything that's hugely different to anybody else. We still had 5 or 6 players from last season still in the squad for this season. People talk about Mark Beard as well. Now, what you all forget is Mark Beard had 18 injuries. We had the whole first team in the bench out at one point. That was a really horrible period. I think it was the most of any football team at that time had injuries. And so you're not comparing like for like all the time. There are different seasons with different scenarios. And this season, how many injuries we've got now? I think we've still got 5 or 6 out. Some of them will be back before the end of the season, but some of them won't. And they're freak injuries as well, which is frustrating.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, of course you can.
I'm not worried. I don't think it's going to happen. If it does happen, we will deal with it like everything else. We'll just deal with it and we'll take it in our stride.
Yeah. No, I don't think we'll go down. I said it to the boys in the car way back on Saturday, and I got called an idiot. But I think the squad's getting it now, as you say, isn't it? We're bringing in decent additions of experience, which is what we needed the whole time. So it's looking up. Hopefully,
you might have a new face this weekend.
Let's hope so. Is he a winger?
Is it Mbappe or Trent? Which one can you say?
No, just need a winger, mate. I don't care about strikers.
We're definitely we're looking at ways we can just keep strengthening this squad. So
yeah, absolutely. Next question. So Fletcher obviously got a great move to Swindon, which is obviously brilliant for his career. Hopefully he will get a sort of first team place nailed down here at Swindon. In terms of that deal, do we have any clauses in there at all? Any little bonuses on the side from the obviously transfer to Wolves in the first place regarding future sell-ons? And can that help us going forward if so?
Sadly, they didn't get very much money from. I don't imagine.
No,
So
no.
I don't think there's much sell-on coming. We did okay with Fletch in the first instance. We needed him to play for England C's or B's, whatever it is, school, one of the England teams, or we needed him to get a first team call up in the Wolves team, and it would have been a very nice payday for us. But he didn't quite get. I think he got on the bench at Arsenal once, but he didn't get on.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I don't think I don't know if it was a free transfer or what, but there's no payday on that one for us, sadly. And we have got 7 sell-on clauses at the minute still active. So there's some of the players, certainly the ones in League 2 are doing unbelievably well. So we'll hope that Crystal Palace side him, because I think he's definitely a Crystal Palace style player. And
Let's hope so.
I'm going to add another one, Pemi. Right, Pemi was 20 years old. Right, he's a kid. He's never scored very many goals in his career. We've just turned that kid into a League One striker. And I think people don't realise how much goes in, and how much training, and how much confidence, and how much stuff that we're doing behind the scenes as well. That all right, he's not our player. We're not going to make any money off him, but he came here. We've absolutely changed his career. If he doesn't turn around in 5 years' time and say, that little stint that I had at Eastbourne Borough was game changing for me, and we should be proud of that as a club, because that is something special. Because there's plenty of strikers who go on loan and do absolutely nothing. I mean, Victor came in. I think he still scored 5 or 6 goals, but he never took to what Pemi did. And it's hard to compare that they're both the same age, and and two completely different physical specimens, really. And I don't think age is the problem, because I know that's something that you guys labelled a lot. You sign lots of young players. You're just trying to get cheap. We're not. We're trying to find talent, right? And if we can find talent in their 20, and we find talent in their 30, we'll find whatever talent we can that we think will enhance us, will make us better, will make us go faster, and also attract other players. I mean, Arthur is a perfect example. I mean, at the beginning of the season, he wasn't even going to get played. He was just going to be a bench warmer and, get the odd run on. And look at him. I mean, he is probably is our best player. When he plays, we are better as well. Him and Eastie together, we are a better team with those two in the team.
Simon, I think you've kind of said it there with him and Eastie, by using them as the example. These younger players, I agree that that's the way football clubs need to look forward, in the fact you need that better youth, and you don't need players like Eastie that might not be able to play 2 games a week when it comes to the crunch end of the season. But it's for us, I think, and what the fans have been saying more than that we're signing young or whatever else, is that there's too many young players in there with not enough experience to mentor them through. You're in a business where it's in a sales and marketing background and whatever else. You wouldn't want to be taking 10 people that you're trying to mentor underneath you, whereas if you can focus that as a one-on-one, that you're going to be able to do a better job with that person. And I think that's where the gripe of the fans is, if I'm honest, is that there's too many youngsters and not enough of the experience there, or that's what they felt, in order to bring them through.
And I think they're right. They're right to think that, but it's like having an opinion, but you don't have all the context. That's why you have managers. Actually, everyone I've hired in my business in the last year has been under 21 or under 22, really. I hire a lot of youngsters. We help them grow, we develop them, because I think we get a longer career out of them, and I think they appreciate it more because we support them and give them a chance, and that's what we're sort of doing here at Eastbourne as well. I mean, Freddie's young, but he's had, I don't know, Nearly 100 games. I mean, one of you two.
Nearly. I think that's the other day. Actually, I think he's nearly 100 now.
Georgie's youngest, but again, he's played. He's, I think, in National League. He's got enough experience. It's not that then you've got Mo, then you've got Easty. Obviously, Phipps has come in. Managers are like horses for courses, right? None of them like Kai. Right? We like Kai. Kai was quite experienced. I like Kai. Didn't have a problem with Kai. Managers didn't like Kai. Didn't want him in their team. Cameron, he put everyone's nose out of joint, including Adams at times. Sometimes you've got to understand you're managing 25 different personalities. Each of those boys are coming in every single day, and each of them's probably got half a dozen problems, right? And then you've got to try and bring them all together. Like, how many people you work with that you like? You have a couple of people you like at work, but the rest of them you really couldn't care less about. And that's what it's like in a football team. You've got to bring 25 guys together and make them gel and make them all like each other, make them all at least want to pass the ball to each other and not trying to rip each other's throat out, right? And that's the hardest thing. It's nothing to do with age, it's nothing to do with experience. It's about bringing these 25 people together and giving them a cause to believe in and a manager they trust. And that's not easy, I promise you. That is the hardest thing. And that's why the best, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal probably got it right, but Spurs, they're all struggling with it. I mean, one thing I noticed about Spurs last night is that they were playing for the manager. They were listening to him, they were giving him the thumbs up. There was good interaction between the players and the manager last night, which is the first time a few people said to me that, they're starting to notice that. We're starting to get the same thing, probably a little bit too much swearing at times, and we've got to we're expecting, every one of us is expecting so much from these boys, and most of them haven't been together for a week yet as a whole group, and that will only get better and better and better as the season progresses, and that's why I feel confident. But it's like any workforce. There'll be somebody who's coming in whose mum's sick. There's someone's coming in whose auntie's just died, their dog's just died, or their mum's died. Like, you've got to deal with all those challenges as well, and then hope for 90 minutes on a Saturday and maybe on a Tuesday they turn up together and they actually it all comes together. And this season it hasn't. And it's not because there are 11 bad players. It is because we are not quite there yet as a team. And I think that's what we built with Adam. We got it there towards the end of the season where we were a team and that we were coming together with each other. But we didn't have a striker. We didn't have enough goals in us at the end of last season. And that's what cost us ultimately in the end.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And I just say, I feel like sort of Tommy, you get the essence that he is building that sort of team to take us back up to where we're aspiring to be, because we don't want to be down the bottom of the league. Of course, we're all aiming to be in that top three like we were last season. Just from the expectations we all had this season, everyone sort of thought, we'd go on, do one better, or at least get playoffs, I feel. And then Matt Graves came in, as you said, there was issues with recruitment and his style of play and that sort of thing. With the business we got in under Gray, was it because we, as you say, experience-wise, at the start of the season, we only had Eastman and Sagaff, who were like above the age of, 27 is Mo, 28, something along those lines. I know you don't need necessarily players that are of that age, but in terms of seeing games out, people like Musa Diarra, Bird, Greeny we had under Murray, they just add that sort of bit of nuance. And the dark arts, I think, as well. I went to watch Brighton versus Bournemouth on Monday night. I don't regularly go to Brighton, but it was sort of just came up. And Bournemouth excellent and just sort of running the clock down, time wasting, all those little things people hate to see as a neutral, but they were just sort of, didn't get a result out of it in the end, but they were experts at sort of trying to play the system, if you like. And I feel like that's where you need the experienced players in. So was it like a Matt Gray decision, if you like, to focus more on the youth? Or was it just because we couldn't maybe attract players down because of family or because of wages, or, what was the thinking behind because we had the youngest squad in the league at that point when he was in charge. So
I mean, Lintott is not inexperienced. He's played 50
That's another one I
games in the
forgot.
EFL.
That's three then. Three players
And,
then.
and, and even Jamie was, he was experienced, and Sandy was experienced. I think I'm just trying to go back and all the people he was trying to get. He spent a long time trying to get a player, one of his ex-players. Two, actually. There was an experienced centre-back and an experienced midfield. And he must have phoned this guy 400 times. That's what it felt like. He was always, I'm really close. I'm going to get this done. And I think what happened was he missed a lot of players because he spent too long with these two players. And would they have made us better? Who knows? But that's what his focus was. He was trying to get that type of player in, and Adam was the same. Adam didn't. We struggled with that spine with Adam as well. Listen, we talked to Moose. Moose wanted to come back. He got a bit. It became about money, not about the passion of wanting to come back. Ollie Kane nearly came back. Clark, he wanted to come back. There's quite a few players that I got calls and they said, my son tells me they want to come back because they don't like seeing you in this state. They don't like seeing where their club is, and they really appreciate all the things that you did for them. And that was really sort of heartwarming and endearing that these players were actually saying, we'd like to come back and play for Eastbourne Borough. And I think the final nail in the coffin with Matt was Jason Adigan. I think there was a chance we could have had him. He didn't want him. And he went to Chelmsford, and that was a mistake. And Follerin as well. We were offered Follerin, and he went to Chelmsford as well. So there are lots of players that didn't want to come play for Matt, and didn't want to come play in that style of football, and that's why we had to make a change. Now, I can also tell you that when we interviewed Matt, we interviewed probably 40 candidates. Matt was head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of experience, in terms of style, in terms of he spent the last 6 months with Thomas Frank, literally at Brentford, in every day coaching with him, and it was like this is one of the most, at the time he was one of the most wanted managers in the league. So, he came with a hell of a lot of pedigree. He'd done it before. We'd actually tried to get him before we got Adam. He just said, look, I've just come out of Sutton. Sutton's been my life forever. I'm not ready to do another job yet. Come back again. And that's why we ended up having that conversation again. And, he was wanted by 3 or 4 other teams in our league and in the league above. So we're not devoid of people wanting to come here and wanting to work here. It's just, it's like any form of business. You've got to hire people. Sometimes you get the hiring right. Sometimes you don't get it right. And it's the same with players.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Simon. Just want to tie in a couple of things together. The whole trust the process thing that was sort of repeated around the club, and there's been a bit of negativity that have come with it, alongside some of the recent the social posts as well from training. How would you respond to that negativity around both those topics?
I mean, which post you're talking about?
So, some of the comments on the recent social posts of some of the clips in training of the players like joking around or doing competitions, and some of the comments in there say that we should probably maybe stop posting these and focus on winning games. I don't know if you've seen them. They might be no. So you don't.
I did see we had 1.2 million likes on one of the posts the other day. Listen, our social this year has been a lot less than last year, not because of any other reason. We just have done a little bit less. I think it's important. It makes a huge difference when we're attracting sponsors. It makes a huge difference when we're attracting players. All the things that it's important for. We've got to keep it going. When I nail it down, I say, you don't like the social posts. No, what you don't like is you don't like us losing. if social posts are okay when you're winning, but they're not okay when you're losing. Well, you can't have it both ways. We've got to. It's like fans. You can't just come when we're winning. We've got to be able to do everything we're doing when we're winning, when we're losing. Look, if you don't like the line "trust the process," there's lots of lines that I've heard over the last 20 years from politicians and things that I don't like. Don't say it. The process is we want to get to the league, and we want a WSL team for the women's. No one talks about the amazing stuff the women are doing. No one talks about the growth of the disabled team. No one talks about how many youth teams and actually how the women's section are doing as a whole. I think we're in the semi-final in God knows how many age groups. We've got an unbelievable football club which is beyond just that first men's team, and everybody, especially the negative nannies, are focused on one team, on the men's team. Now, if I was really thin-skinned or thick-skinned, I'd say, do you know what? Forget it. Let's just focus on the rest of it. Let's shut the men's team down. Let's put them back to part-time because that's what they want. Let's go backwards in time. Let's go back to a time where they couldn't even afford to pay for a coach to go to a game. It's not like we were living in great glory time for the last 15 years. They really are not, right? So let's not want to go back. Let's want to go forward, and you've got to trust. I haven't done anything to erode anyone's trust. I haven't gone and done anything that you should say, look, that is very deceitful what you're doing. I'll talk to anyone. I'll have conversation with anyone. I'll be at the club on Friday morning. If anyone wants to come in and shake my hand, have a moan, have a groan, have a beer, have a coffee, whatever you want, come in and say hello, right? But if you don't trust me, I can't. I'm really sorry. There's something I can actually do about that. I am doing the best I possibly can in a very difficult league, in a very difficult recruitment industry, because this recruitment is just the same as any other job. You've got to recruit the best players, and then you've got to turn them into superstars, and then you've got to try and hold on to them because they all want to get out and go and play somewhere else. So that's the battle that we're facing. We're also in a really tough location. When they told me that at the very beginning, they said, look, the biggest problem you're going to have is getting people to come to Eastbourne. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Eastbourne? If I was a footballer, I want to live by the seaside and have ice creams and walk along the beach. Why would you not want to live in Eastbourne? And to be fair, that was my naivety, because people just didn't want to come to Eastbourne. And I've been trying to promote Eastbourne as a destination, not just a football club. The tourist board haven't done any tourism work since 2016. That's 10 years this year. If you search for Eastbourne, you get more about Eastbourne Borough and our videos and our stories than you do about Eastbourne's beachy head. Right? So what we're doing is we're putting Eastbourne on the map, not just in the UK, but all around the world. And, that was my commitment to the club and to the town when I came here, that I will keep doing. And tomorrow when I'm at the conference again, I'll walk around and I'll be talking about Eastbourne Borough to anybody who'll listen to me. And I hope one of you guys or one of the fans wins a trip to Barbados in 6 or 8 weeks' time, and you get to see Eastbourne Barbados, because that's also a really cool place, right? And when people say, "Oh, you've done nothing for the community," I've got fans who went on a cruise for the first time last year. We're giving away stuff. Every single time you guys get on a coach, we're giving away probably 100 quid's worth of stock, just so you've got something to raffle or whatever you're doing. We've subsidised as much as we possibly can. And as you saw today, Manchester City refunded their fans after their dire performance last night. So we obviously set a trend as well in that respect.
Simon, I think you've already kind of touched on the fact of players are now on longer term contracts. The last 2.5 years we've seen a lot of turnaround in players. Obviously, like you say, some of them have wanted to go and play higher. Some of them, we've just tried them and they haven't worked for us or whatever. But has the process of how we attract players, or how we try and attract players, has that changed this season, and is it changing in the future? Because it seems to be that we made these mistakes in season 1, and they've come back to haunt us again in season 3, and I don't agree with that.
because I think we got some great players in season one. We had a lot more injuries in season one, so I don't think that's it's not the same problem. It's a different problem. And just I just want to touch something on the long-term contracts. That doesn't mean they're going to stay. Just because someone's got a long-term contract, if someone comes along and says, we want to take him, then they'll take him no matter how long their contract is. So you've and even if someone, I don't want to drop names, but there was a player who came in and said, "My mum is so sick, I have to go. I need to rip up my contract. I need to go." Why? Because he was offered a massive signing on bonus by another team in our league. Right? He didn't come up and say, "Look, they're giving me this. Will you, do you want to match it?" It's stupid. It's out of my control. I know I'm under contract. They lie. They're telling you the little fable, and then you rip up the contract, and the next thing they sign the next day, and they've got their picture and happy. That's not very nice. It's disingenuous, but that's football. People always said to me when I came to football, "This is a toxic, horrible game. Managers don't like the players. Players don't like the managers. Managers and players don't like the chairman. Sat at the board. We're all useless, right?" But it's a really tough game, and it really is. And we're doing everything we can to keep you abreast, and whatever you want to know, and if you want to ask, I'll give you. But I don't believe we're making the same mistakes. I think we're making new mistakes, and I think we're learning every single every iteration. What the problem is people see all our mistakes and they're quite happy to comment on all our mistakes. They don't see all the effort, all the long hours that everybody's putting into this football club. And there's a couple of things I would also like to say, and it might give some guys some context as well. There's a lot of people having to go at Alan. I mean, Alan works 7 days a week. He works tirelessly. He is constantly on the lookout to find any player that's good, anything that we can do that's going to enhance this football club and this whole community program. And one of the things he stopped when he first came in was people stealing money. Right? And some of the people who are quite vocal on the forum used to buy a child ticket every week, even though they were in their mid-20s. There are lots of people who used to buy student tickets and still go through, right? And they weren't students. So he put an end to that, and that really made him unpopular. And I think you got to understand as well where some of the motivations for criticising Alan. Alan, actually, the recruitment Alan did do, which is when we were in Adam's season, I would say was some of our best recruitment. Matt did his own recruitment. Tommy will do his own recruitment. Tommy and Alan will chat about it, but it's Tommy's decision. As I said at the beginning, we back our manager until we don't back our manager. But at the minute, we're giving Tommy all the resources to be able to do what Tommy wants to do. So I think that answers that point.
Yeah, Miles, I think you had a question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, mine's a sort of different question, really. I remember we had a sports psychology. I think it was a lady. I'm not sure her name. Have we still got like a focus around that? Because I think that's really good for like a non-league club to have such investment in sort of the mental side of the game, not just the physical aspect of it. So if you could give us like any update at all about what we're doing in that aspect of things, that'd be great.
100%. She's still there. I think she's in 2 or 3 times a week with the players. Sometimes they're on match day. You'll see her on the bench. She's brilliant. Mark Beard actually introduced me to her, and we didn't take her in that season. But what she's really good at is that she'll sit there and she'll watch the weaknesses in the opposition players. One of the things she did last season, which was brilliant, when we played Maidstone, she said to Adam, 11, head's gone, put someone on him. And if you remember rightly, he got sent off about 10 minutes later. So that's the sort of thing that she's there watching. She'll say, the left back, when he makes a mistake, his head goes down, just keep banging the balls down his side. He's going to make a mistake. So, having this sort of facilities and resources within the club, just gives us a tiny little edge. A lot of the players, when Billy died, a lot of them are they were a mess for weeks. And some of them are still, still going. It's still in their heads, and she helps them and she counsels them. She still counsels some of the players who are not even here anymore, who are at other teams, because she built up some really good support with some of them. So yeah, it's something that I'm really passionate about. Something that I've always done in business, and I want to make sure that I'm helping them as much as I possibly can, because they're a good bunch of lads. They all care about Eastbourne Borough Football Club, which is, I think, the most important thing. None of them are here because we're paying them a royal fortune. We pay them a salary, and they're coming here and they've got to do their jobs. And I believe that they will do a really good job over the next 12 weeks.
I mean, a question that has been asked a few times by a few supporters, or is definitely heard amongst the supporters, is the turnover of staff off the field as well. That there's a lot of staff that, like the bar manager changes, or someone comes in and goes. And how does that happen, and why does that happen? Because it seems to be that. So Eastbourne, I mean, obviously you'll know from what people say that Eastbourne has always been a community club. It's been, it was a very volunteer based, and we're asked to go down to the club. And I mean, I go down when I can and support events and stuff like that. But then you see a turnover of staff, and people are just questioning why is that happening, and how is that happening?
You talk to any restaurateur, pub manager, or anyone that has hospitality in Eastbourne, they'll tell you exactly the same people. That it's very hard to find good staff, find good, loyal staff who say what they're going to do at interview and they don't. Listen, you interview someone says, "Oh, I'm going to be the best employee you've ever had. I'm going to turn out. I'm going to be here." And then they don't turn up. They don't come in. I'll be there at 11. Then I missed the bus. I'll be there at 1. We have an issue in Eastbourne, and this is an Eastbourne problem. It's not even an Eastbourne problem, it's a UK problem probably at the minute. Staff are not that good. They're not as good as they could be. I mean, there's a couple of ex-employees on the forum having a pop every now and again. The kid who keeps having a pop, he couldn't even get to work on time half the time. And then he liked to drink or two. So, yes, we've hired some people in good faith who haven't turned out to be as good as their faith was towards us. I think of the last 10 events that we've put on, no football fans have turned up. Maybe John Daly and his wife. I mean, I literally can name them, right? The people who come to all the events. We put on events every single week. There's stuff going on all week long. During the day, the people come in and have chats. Some of you on this call know that if you want to phone up and have a chat about anything, Alan will answer the phone. Even me. Some of you have texted me, and I will text you back, and I'll respond. I don't shy away from anything, and I think that's what a community club is. A community club is not a community club because we write on the forum that we're a really good community club, right? Or when someone writes on the forum, yeah, this is a really toxic, horrible environment. It really isn't. If you come in during the day, the players are there, the chef is there. Some of these people have been here now 1 or 2 years, and they're good. They're good, and the players love them, and I love them, and I appreciate them. And there's been people here who have let us down terribly, and we've had to push them on. And the same goes with the players, right?
And kind of a bounce back to that question as well, or further into that, is, you've got teams in our league like Worthing, Dorking, I can probably name a couple of others, and at a lower level, Farnham. I read a really interesting article on the Farnham chairman's X account 2 or 3 weeks ago about how he got the team on the pitch right first and then increase the spend per head, because not only did he increase the crowds, he increased the spend per head. People were staying in the bar after the game and stuff like that. So I do get that it's the winning mentality side of it as well, and that if you win, people might stay for a bit. But I suppose going back through
£1,000.
Sorry,
literally, it could be £1,000 different. If we win, there's another £1,000 spent on the Saturday night. We lose, everyone's gone home. if it's raining, I mean, just look at there's 500 people that went to Worthing on Saturday from Horsham. How many do we have? 50, if that. And look at the torrential weather it was. You know, that was supposed to be one of our biggest games of the season, right? That should have been a sellout on last Saturday, right? And it wasn't. And that probably cost us another £40,000. Like, no, people don't realise that all these games getting postponed. A game on a Tuesday night, it's a disaster. I mean, we barely cover the wages on a Tuesday night game if only 500 people turn up. So, you know, where were those 500 fans on the Tuesday night? They're not going to come out. So, you know, their FA Trophy run cost us dearly. And that makes a difference, you know, that you have 500 Horsham fans, we get a few more, and all of a sudden you've got a nice atmosphere in that ground. And that's the thing, you know, if you guys want to see us win on Saturday, we can't get rid of that negative energy. I mean, I've seen it at Arsenal, you know, when you're winning and the fans, the anticipation, you can feel it around the ground. That's why I'm completely relaxed about Saturday. You know, it'll be what it'll ever be, because we can't have this nervous energy, because it rubs off on the players and it rubs off on the manager, and then you don't play as well as you can do. I went in and talked to the players before the Hampton game, and it literally was a come to the Lord moment, you know, and it was a bit Churchillian. And I did say to Tommy, if you want me to come in on a Thursday morning and talk to the players again, it seemed to have a desired effect. But we really talked, and we talked together, and my style was very much, you know, how do you guys feel? What are we doing wrong? What do we need to improve, and how do we do this? And, you know, people had their opinion, people had their say, and, you know, we aired it, and then we went out and played with freedom. And that's the bit that hopefully Tommy can get them to do on Saturday. And, you know, the fans can help it by just being upbeat and positive, and cheer them and encourage them, and don't boo them and scream at them.
I think we do try. You know, I've said that before. We try and make noise. We try and you know, we try and give the team a lift if we can, but it is difficult sometimes, and I think that's the bottom line. It is difficult sometimes.
It is difficult. Every one of us plays a part, and that's how you build a community club, not by writing it down on the forum. You know, I think that I went to have a look today and look at the names, and, you know, I promise you, a lot of the people who are writing some of this stuff don't even come. I mean, there was some guy having a pop at Kevin Anderson. I mean, Kevin will write whatever Kevin thinks, not what I think, not what you think. Kevin will write what he thinks, and I think he's generally quite honest and straightforward, and he's a really good man. And I just think that it's just rude. No one stands up for anybody. No one stands up for the club. No one stands up for me. No one stands up. All right, you don't want to stand up for Alan. You don't like Alan, but no one stands up, right? And that's the thing that I think is quite disappointing, really, because when you come and see us and talk to us personally, you say, it's disgusting, this, I can't believe people are saying that and writing that, but no one puts it publicly. You know, and then our friends down the road, they scored 8 goals, and, you know, they won, and they put up a post today saying we're a real football club now, and we're a real community club. Therefore, they said it must be true, and well done them, right? It's easy when you're winning, like you've all seen and said. When you're winning, everybody thinks you're brilliant. When you're losing, you're devil incarnate, and that's the challenge that we've all got to overcome, and we've got to do it together, right? We are a community club. I'll talk to you about the community. We're in schools, we're in hospitals, we're doing all the stuff that we promised we'd do. This year we're launching our own Eastbourne Borough Foundation, right? A proper charitable foundation, which will help us raise lots more money to do lots more community stuff. In the Bolsall, we've got paddle courts, we've got a wellness suite, and we've got a classroom, so we can do education courses for literacy and numeracy in the community. We are committed to doing everything we can to make Eastbourne Borough the best football team in Eastbourne, and one, attract more players. You wait till the wellness suite's in and the video cameras are in there, BBC, ITV, Sky, even the US ones, they're going to come and look at what we're doing and say, how the hell is this little non-league club, right, somewhere down there on the bottom of England, doing all this stuff when no one else is doing anything similar? So I know that the publicity is just going to get bigger and better and more exciting, and that will help us attract a lot more players next season. So that's the process. That's what we're going through. The paddle courts arrived in August. Why has it taken 9 months to go? I can tell you, every single problem that you could find, we managed to find it. Something went wrong every single week that stopped those paddle courts going up. Even now, they're up, right? And the carpet got laid, and the carpet's not good enough. So tomorrow, we've got brand new carpets. It's another chunk of change that we've had to buy new carpets because the carpets that they supplied didn't work. So nothing on those paddle courts has gone to plan. We will open on February the 9th. I hope you guys, I mean, there are people going in and having a little play around at the minute. You know, I don't know if Alan will let you guys in, but go in and have a little bash around. It's an unbelievable sport. The difference between paddle and bowls is everyone at bowls was over 60. You know, from a 15-year-old to an 85-year-old can play paddle, which means that it is there for the whole community. It'll also bring in a whole new different group of fans who've never been to Eastbourne Borough before. And I think it'll be great for the football club. So there's nothing I'm doing which is wasteful or wasting money that will stop this football club getting bigger and better over the next couple of years. I think it's a good place to end.
Well, just want to come back on there, because mentioning the paddle, I mean, I've got some friends who play paddle on a serious level, and they've said that there are issues with, not with the carpet or anything else, but with the size of the courts, with the height of the courts. Is that something you've come up against at the moment, or?
Yeah, we couldn't play Olympic paddle, whatever it is, you know, full scale paddle that they play on, you know, the ones you see on TikTok and everything, right? But for someone of my standard, and I play paddle, I mean, I'm a fair weather paddle player, but I play it, you know, regularly. The courts are absolutely spot on. And people who play paddle regularly have come in and said, and have joined and already signed up for membership. So, listen, I've had, I don't know how many people from Saffron's come in, try and sneak in to try and see, and they're all spreading rumours that it's no good, this is no good, that's no good. There's only 4 courts in Eastbourne, I think 4 or 5 courts. So you're going to have 3 more now. We're all going to be full anyway, and it's enjoyable and it's healthy and it's getting people out doing a little bit of exercise.
Can I just quickly touch on the one thing, the membership, the £250 one?
Yeah.
Why? I'm just out of curiosity.
Well, you think about it, right? If someone plays, they can play as many times as they want every week. So some people are playing every single day. And I think it's somewhere between 10 or 15 quid a go, right? So you start adding up. They can play as often as they like. They get to book the courts 21 days in advance. There's only 50 of these. These are the founder members. These are people who want to play paddle and do. They can't, you know, there was loads of people with membership at Saffron's who can't get on the courts. Right, and if they do a little bit of content in the courts, they chuck off people who book the courts as well. So, you know, we want to look after our members, and it will be like slightly more exclusive. We might not get a 50 founder members because it's too expensive, but that allows somebody to play as often as they want for free, get free coffee. They'll also have free cryotherapy and free other treatments in the wellness suite. Right, because the other thing about paddle is you get injured a hell of a lot. So will, you know, if you come off the court and you go straight have a cryotherapy session, it might help you recover a little bit. You know, it's been priced to people who love paddle. It is not for everyone. You can just play and pay your £10, £12, whatever it is. We're the only place that's got a single court this side of London, right, which is also a really unique thing. So if you can't get 4 players, at least you and your mate can go and have a knock up, and it's good for practicing. So don't worry about the pricing. If it's priced wrong, then people won't use it. If it's priced right, then we'll sell them all out. My battery went on the other computer.
Oh, no.
I don't know how much of that you heard, but
No, we got the whole answer. It was fun.
Yeah.
The bit like people saying, "Oh, you've done nothing." You've got a whole new furniture in the clubhouse. I mean, the founders' bar is like a executive lounge now. When the away directors and fans come in, they go, "It's changed a bit in here." But yet, the people who apparently are our greatest fans say nothing's changed at all. And I hope within the next 1 or 2 weeks we'll do an open day where people can come in and see all the things that are going on in the wellness and the paddle, and then you'll see how much has really changed and been invested in this football club, and how much the people who work here really care. And there's lots of there are lots of people who do a hell of a lot for this club, including Baz does his bit with his podcast, and John and Gary. There are lots of positive elements that come out of this football club, and that's what the community is. That's what it's about. It's not, you can't just. There isn't a picture on the wall that says, "Oh, we are the best community club in the world," and that makes us the best. It's how everyone behaves. Community is a group of people coming together, believing in the cause that we're doing, and I believe in it, and I know Barry does, and I think you two believe in it, and I've watched you two grow up over the last couple of years. You're proper nippers when you first started coming, and that's going to be the same with a lot of the kids. What's his name with the drums?
Aidan.
Aidan.
Aidan. Aidan, when he first started, wouldn't say boo to a goose to me. Now he doesn't shut up, and he wants to punch me and thump me and tell me how, come on, we got to do this. Right? So it's amazing for me as well, seeing these people grow up and just seeing some of the really powerful stories that come out of this football club. And that's what a real community club is. It's not because whoever he is, Brad Gokerty, says that this is a horrible place anymore, and that's up to him. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't come. He doesn't know. He's never been there in the good times. He's certainly not been there in the bad times. There's a lot of people who've been there in the good times, but haven't come back in the bad times. And we got, between all of us, we got to encourage as many people as we can to come down, cheer the boys on. Let's get that winning feeling back, and let's finish this season on a high and get ready for a brilliant 26-27 season.
Cheers to that. And we appreciate your efforts. Even that hasn't really gone right all the time, but say things happen, don't they? Things happen, so we can only move on and hopefully move upwards from now. So thank you from me, from what you've sort of put in efforts wise for the last few years, and your enthusiasm as well. I love the enthusiasm you always have for us as a town and the club. So
I'm good. Sorry,
I just had a little trigger in my head. My kids I don't think they had the same teacher in the last year of the school. Every 5 weeks someone else was sick, having mental health breakdowns, and what do they call them? The substitute teachers. It's hard to find consistent staff in any business at all. So, it is hard. If anybody watching this wants to work at the football club, we're looking for really good people who care about the football club and want to see us all win.
Well, I know you're obviously on another device now, and you're sort of skew with. So, but no, that's fine. Thanks for coming on tonight. Hopefully you'll come back on again, and hopefully we'll have a few more points on the board by that time, and people will. People will have a bit more of a smile on their face. I mean, I don't. For 1 minute, and this, I've said this to you. I don't. I will never question your passion and your desire, and that comes from. And I've said it to many people before. When we was playing Slough away in season 1, when we needed them points, and there was me and you amongst a crowd of however many people screaming for a penalty that so obviously wasn't, and for 20 or 30 seconds we absolutely berated the referee, and then just both sat and looked at each other and laughed because we knew it wasn't a penalty, but we did our utmost. So I won't question it. I won't question your passion. I just hope that passion doesn't extinguish, and I think that was something that fans had worried about, was the fact that because we'd had such a good season last year, that it may, it may harm what the the desire you've got for the club. So, look, if anyone has got any comments on this, like Simon said, he is at the club on Friday. I'm sure Simon will look at the comments on this. So if anyone's got any questions, either put them in here and we'll put them to Simon, or just go and see Simon or ask him at the club on Friday or Saturday if you're there for the game. So, like I say, thanks again, Simon, for coming on. Enjoy Madrid. Don't drink too much sangria out there, will you? Just.
I'll be sober as a judge for Saturday, and hopefully my guys can boost this and push this so as many of the fans see it, because I think it's been a good educational piece just to give you the other side of the coin, just to give you some context to your opinions as well. Because sometimes sometimes I read some of the comments and go, bloody hell, it couldn't be more spot on. And some of the game reviews, I'm thinking, I'm watching a different game, and maybe my view sometimes a little bit higher up, but most of the times I agree with most of people what you've got to say, right? And I am in the same camp as you. I want to see us win every week. I do not want to sit there and watch players get injured, watch players not play to their full ability, and that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing that I've found as a football club owner.
Well, let's look forward to a win against Farnborough on Saturday. Going and turning Dagenham over, because we owe Andy Carroll one, right? For at least I think he only came into his fore when Freddie came off the pitch that day. I think Freddie had him in his pocket for most of the game, had him so quiet. So if our defence can do that, then hopefully we might be able to get something there. And then a home win against Enfield, and hopefully things will be a little bit sweeter, and we'll be that little bit higher up in the table. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks again, Simon, for coming on. Thanks, Bobbie, Miles. It's been interesting, and we will see you all again possibly before Dagenham. It depends whether I can get these other two Herberts in time, and we will hopefully do something before the Dagenham game. So thanks again, guys. Thanks, Simon. Enjoy Spain, and we'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday. Bye now.
Bye-bye.